So you may remember back in July, I unboxed a 17-inch refurbished MacBook Pro from 2007 that had never been opened. And that was honestly one of my favorite videos that I've ever done on this channel. But a number of you guys pointed out that, while a refurbished MacBook Pro from 2007 was definitely remarkable to find one in the Apple refurbished packaging that had never been opened, some people thought that it might have been more interesting to look at a MacBook of that era that was 100% brand new, had never been opened, had never been turned on, and was in its original packaging. Well, folks, do I have a video for you. Today's video is sponsored by Dashlane. Look, if you have as many weird old Macs as I do, then you're gonna have to remember a lot of passwords. Not that I would recommend buying a lot of weird old Macs, it's not a good idea. But if you're a human person, then chances are you have a whole bunch of passwords, credit card and debit card information, old addresses, and it's a mess to keep track of all that. Well, folks, Dashlane has you covered. They'll deal with all of the sorting and managing, and it makes checking out and logging in a breeze. No more scrambling to find your credit card number or getting frustrated at iCloud Keychain for somehow saving the wrong password. Seriously, how does it do that? I swear I have like 15 passwords saved for one website, and they're all wrong. Dashlane is encrypted, so all of your information is stored securely, and they can even generate strong passwords for you, which is great because then you don't have to remember them. Z6JHBY6. And hey, look at that! Dashlane also comes with a VPN for private, secure browsing. That's some real icing on the cake, huh? Check out dashlane.com/Miani with the link in the description below to try out Dashlane for free on your first device. And if you choose to upgrade to premium, you can use code Miani for 10% off. What I have here today is what looks like a very plain brown box, and inside of it, supposedly, is a 2008 15-inch MacBook Pro. Apparently it's the pre-unibody early 2008 model, not the late 2008, which is when the unibody was introduced. So judging by the shipping label on the side of the box, this was mailed from an Apple distribution warehouse of some sort on August 19th, 2008. And this is its original shipping container. Look at that, folks. The tape is sealed. How about that for original packaging, huh? Man, this is nerve-wracking. I always feel nervous opening up an old, unopened Apple product, but I am very, very excited. So why don't we hop into it? Opened for the first time in 12 years. Oh my gosh. I can't believe this. This is unbelievable. One of the most pristine, no, I'm gonna scratch that, the most pristine old Apple box I've ever seen. This is the first time the box has been unboxed in 12 years. Wow. I'm gonna be saving absolutely everything. Shipping box, this shipping bag, which they don't do anymore. I don't know why. And here, of course, is the image of our MacBook Pro, our 15-inch widescreen device here. Quite often, the MacBooks that I'll get will come with their original packaging, which is really nice, but rarely does what's on the inside match what's printed on the outside. But today, it absolutely will, because this MacBook has never seen the light of day before. Now, I'm being really, really careful with this box, because even just seeing the corners of this thing not dented in is rare. All right, so here are the specs of this particular machine. 2.5 gigahertz Intel Core 2 Duo, 2 gigabytes of DDR2 RAM, 250 gigabyte hard drive, 15.4-inch display, NVIDIA GeForce 8600M GT with 512 megabytes of VRAM. So this model was in fact the higher spec version. The base tier came with a 2.4 gigahertz processor, 2 gigabytes of RAM, a 200 gigabyte hard drive, and the 8600M GT graphics with 256 megabytes of VRAM. So this particular model, the upgraded one, sold for $2,499 in 2008. That roughly equates to about $3,000 in today's money. So someone dropped $3,000 on this and didn't even take it out of the shipping box. Okay, so that's enough beating around the bush here, folks. I think we need to cut the seal and see what $3,000 got you back in 2008. The seal is cut. Time to flip this thing back over and open it for the first time in more than 12 years. I have goosebumps. This is really, really cool and also very stressful. But in cutting that tape, I've also cut the value in half, so yay. Here we go. Look at that. The styrofoam is embossed with MacBook Pro. The odor that is coming out of this brand new Mac odor that I have not smelled since, probably since my parents bought a refurbished iMac in 2008. It's that same smell. That is a rush of nostalgia. There it is. This is what you got with your 2008 MacBook Pro. Take a look at the old style Apple power cord. You guys remember this? Brand new. Here's an old MagSafe adapter that is absolutely spotless. Completely brand new. Oh my gosh. Looks like it also came with a DVI to VGA adapter. I have to say, I really like this style of packaging, although it does make it a little awkward for me to kind of peer over the top because I'm trying to show you guys what's inside of it, but I like this style of Apple box. They don't really do this anymore. Why don't we pull out this MacBook Pro, shall we? There's not really a great place to grab it from, but here it comes. And there's our documentation booklet. A lot more documentation than you get nowadays. And that does it for the contents of the box. You can see we've got this sort of patterned styrofoam that we saw on the top protective piece is sort of mirrored down here, but as you would expect with Apple, the packaging is very simple. There's not a lot of frills here. Why don't we go ahead and check out what is in the documentation booklet? Look at how absolutely pristine this little box is. Why don't we go ahead and take a look at what accessories you got with your 2008 15-inch MacBook Pro. There's the Everything Mac booklet, very crisp as you would expect, and then the Everything Else booklet. Now, you guys, this is the single most exciting part. The microfiber cloth with the Apple logo embossed on it. The original Apple stickers. I'm not even gonna open this microfiber cloth. If you guys follow the channel, you know the microfiber cloth is the most exciting part of unboxing an old Apple product. I don't know why they don't include these anymore. I think they stopped when the Touch Bar MacBook Pro generation, because I'm fairly certain I still have the microfiber cloth that came with my early 2015 MacBook Pro. Now, as far as what else we're gonna get, as you would expect with an old Mac, we have our Restore discs. And a fun fact, these particular installed discs are multilingual, and that's because the previous owner of this MacBook Pro lived in Brazil. So this MacBook has really been on quite a voyage. I mean, it started here in the US after it was shipped from China when it was first manufactured 12 years ago, and then it made a trip back to the US from Brazil about a week ago. So now let's take a look at what we got with the Everything Mac booklet. So this is going to show us the features and how to set up our MacBook Pro running OS X Leopard. So I like the color scheme. I gotta say, this is very 2008 Apple with this sort of blue and gray. We've got everything here from the built-in iSight camera, Time Machine backups, and iLife 08, which should be pre-installed on here. Obviously, we gotta have our VGA to DVI adapter. That's very important. Now, you gotta remember that in 2008, VGA was basically the king. And this laptop shipped without a VGA port directly on it, which meant that it was not compatible with most mainstream monitors, TVs, projectors, and that sort of thing. So to have that adapter was really nice. At the very least, in 2008, Apple acknowledged that VGA was pretty widespread, but they still gave you a dual-link DVI connector on this MacBook Pro. That was very advanced at the time. That allowed you to drive the 30-inch Apple Cinema display, which had a resolution of 2560 by 1600, and that thing came out in 2005. Here's some nice instruction on how to use the function keys. Remember those from back in the day? What a classic. So here's something that we won't have recognized from the 2007 MacBook Pro. Here's how to use the multi-touch trackpad. Yeah, that's right. This was the first MacBook Pro to actually feature multi-touch gestures. So they had already introduced two-finger scrolling and like pinch to zoom, but this added the much more comprehensive multi-touch gestures that we have now come to know and love. So if you put this thing, if you update it to El Capitan or use a patcher to get this thing running Mojave or even Catalina, I think. Can you run Catalina on these things? Maybe, they might have some issues. But anyway, if you update this thing, you can actually use all of those same multi-touch gestures, even though it isn't that multi-touch one-button trackpad. There's also a section in this booklet on how to upgrade the RAM. Isn't that a trip down memory lane? It actually shows you here, step by step, what you need to do to upgrade the RAM in your 15-inch MacBook Pro. Don't see that a lot anymore, do ya? All right, so now it's time to move on to the main event, the actual MacBook itself. Now, unfortunately, the other thing I noticed was on the bottom of the device, it feels like the battery is a little bit swollen or not seated properly. My money would be on swollen. Hopefully that hasn't damaged the display or the trackpad. Yeah, so I think we're probably not gonna have a ton of luck in terms of getting the battery to hold a charge, but hopefully we can get this thing to power on for the first time in 12 years. And there it is. The original seal is broken. The MacBook is unsheathed. Well, actually, it's still sheathed. It's just not a shut. Anyway, let's pull it out, shall we? And there it is. A brand new, completely spotless 2008 MacBook Pro. Now let's take a look here on the underside, and it does look like that battery is fairly swollen, so why don't we go ahead and take that out, lest it cause any further issues. So, yeah, look at that. You can see the side profile here is definitely bowed out. That's a shame, because these old original Apple batteries are very, very hard to come by. Now, fortunately, looking on the actual inside of the laptop itself, it doesn't look like there has been any sort of damage. Okay, so why don't we open this thing up for the first time in 12 years? I keep saying for the first time in 12 years, but just really let that sink in for a moment. Here we go. Look at that pristine keyboard. Are you ready, guys? This is gonna be the first key press of this entire laptop. I'm gonna press F to pay respect to the battery. And I have to say, design-wise, this thing totally holds up. You know, these pre-unibody MacBook Pros still look good, especially if they're as absolutely flawless as this. I mean, look at it. But now I think it's time we try the ultimate test. can this MacBook actually power on after 12 years sitting in a box inside of a box? Okay, it's plugged in. I heard a sound. Wow. There it goes. I legitimately held my breath that whole time because I didn't want to have any sort of noise interrupting the OS X Leopard startup animation playing for the first time. I'm going to go ahead and mute it now. So let's get started by going through the setup process of this 2008 MacBook Pro. How much do we actually need to put in? Does it really make us put in all of this stuff? Hey Siri, what is the zip code for One Infinite Loop, Cupertino, California?
The zip code for One Infinite Loop, Cupertino is 95014.
That sounds about right. We'll do 95014, California. Ooh, here we go. Let's take a picture, shall we? Can we zoom in a little bit? Ah, there we go. Don't forget to register. Click Done to end the setup process and begin using your computer. Let's click Done. And here it comes. The first time on the desktop in 12 years. There it is. So now that we're finally loaded in, oh man, look at all these classic, look at that. There's iChat, this is pre-FaceTime, address book, iCal, before calendar. There's the old version of iTunes. Then here's, of course, our iLife suite, so iMovie, GarageBand, and Spaces. Oh, I forgot about Spaces. Yeah, why don't we go ahead and set up Spaces? This is a pretty cool one. So Spaces was sort of like before you could use the 3-finger swipe and go between multiple desktops, you had Spaces. When we press F8, we hop into these 4 different spaces that we can fill up with applications. So if we open up Safari and System Preferences, oh wait, it's loading the Apple homepage. Wow, it's kind of a disaster. It's not really loading correctly. And before we go through that, you can see now we can kind of switch back and forth between these multiple desktops, even though they weren't called multiple desktops quite yet. Oh no, it can't access the iTunes store. Well, that's not exactly surprising. We do have iMovie installed here. I think we need to edit a video on this computer, don't you think? All right, so I think what we should do for this video on the 2008 MacBook Pro is make like a small review for the computer itself. And I think what we need to do to capture the footage is use contemporary things. So I'm gonna record an audio segment, a video segment on the webcam, and then we're also gonna need some pictures of the device. And what better to use than the original iPhone, which I have here in its original 4GB version on the original version of iOS. So obviously we can't take video with the original iPhone because it can't. But I think we could make a pretty interesting retro review of this MacBook Pro. So with my tasks set, I gathered my footage through the iSight camera using Photo Booth, and I imported the photos that I took with the iPhone 2G using iPhoto on OS X Leopard. And so with all of my footage gathered, I set about editing my review using only tools available to you by default in iMovie 08. So after about 25 minutes editing and a good 7 or 8 minutes exporting the 43 megabyte file, here is my 2008 MacBook Pro review. Hey guys, it's Cool Luke here with my 2008 MacBook Pro review here on YouTube, a website that has existed for 3 years because it's 2008. Now, to start off my review, let's talk about the unboxing experience. The 2008 MacBook Pro feels very, very premium and very well built, and the unboxing experience reflects that. There's premium materials. The name MacBook Pro is embossed on the styrofoam, and it even comes with a DVI to VGA adapter, which is really nice to have. So the configuration for my computer is the more expensive one that starts at $24.99. It comes with a 2.5 gigahertz processor, 2 gigabytes of RAM, a 250 gigabyte hard drive with plenty of room on it, and of course a whopping 512 megabytes of VRAM. But the best part about the new 2008 MacBook Pro is that it comes with a ton of really great bundled software. You get a calendar, you get iChat, you get Photo Booth, you even get GarageBand and iMovie 08. This is a really good package, and overall, I think the 2008 MacBook Pro is probably one of the best laptops you can buy. Okay, thank you guys for watching my video. Make sure to subscribe here on YouTube, which is a new website. I wonder where it'll be in 12 years. Probably a very cool website with a lot of people on it. Anyway, thank you guys for watching my review. Okay, bye! I think that holds up pretty well today, don't you think? Let me know in the comments below if I should switch to this as my main editing computer and use the iPhone 2G as my main B-roll camera. I think it's pretty promising. So that's gonna do it for today's video. This was honestly one of the most fun days of filming I have done in a long, long time. I was looking forward to this unboxing more than iPhone 12 and 12 Pro and the iPad Air, more than all of that. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Check out my subreddit and my Twitch channel, which are linked in the description below. And don't forget to follow me on Twitter @LukeMiani. And with that, I will see you guys in the next and probably more modern video.